Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and along with me is back on board Bethany because she was away last week. But in actuality, as I said, that was my fault. So anyway, and this episode again is brought to you by Duonamic, who I've now generously offered to give I can't even say it, the Alvia. Is it Alvia? I'll buy it.
Yeah.
A really cool thing to every guest that comes on the show. And we'll be having a guest in just a little while. A really good one. Arielle Fitzgerald coming off her big race down in Slow. But before that, I wanted to go into, and I wanted to talk about, I know we mentioned it, but did you actually see Chloe Brennan lift the stones?
I did. 710 pounds?
He was 721.
721, yeah. Crazy. And she was only 140 pounds.
Yeah. Did you just watch her? Did you happen to watch the whole thing?
I didn't watch the whole thing. No, I watched her lift. Yeah.
So before her, there were two other women that went. And the one girl, I believe, was like 310 pounds. And the other one was like 280. And they couldn't even get them off the ground.
Wow.
And it's Chloe Brennan, who obviously is a power lifter, but she weighs in at 140 pounds. Mm-hmm. And she just blew everybody's mind with it. And it's just another one of those things that, you can't judge the book by the cover and just more power.
Yeah. Like imagine her standing beside the two other girls, and if people were placing bets, I don't think you'd put your money on her.
Even the announcers were like, when she walked out, we're like, what's she doing here? Like, this is,
I love that.
They at least admitted, they were like, yeah, it was crazy. But I was like, wow, that's just amazing. And apparently she went from like 10,000 Instagram followers and she's like 40,000 or something like that.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Her name is Chloe Brennan, Chloe Bren X on, because you have to have an X because it makes things better, on Instagram. Really awesome, and check it out. There's highlights out, or if you can go to Rogue Fitness on YouTube, you can see the whole event. It was a great event. I love the way Rogue covers shit. It's great.
Yes, they do a really good job. Mm-hmm.
So that was good. And I wanted to mention too, before we talk to Arielle, Heather White of Team OFX.
Yes.
Did you see her, what she did on the weekend?
Yes, for Deca Strong. Was it?
Yeah. Deca Strong. Yeah. Overall winner, so she beat all the men as well.
I saw that. That's really impressive.
And so her time was 14:32, which puts her fourth so far this year and in line for the 12 woman roster for the championships. Now, I mean, it's a long way away, and there's a lot of women to do it, but that is the 11th best women's time of all time. So
yeah, that sounds like a pretty secure time though. We'll see, but
it's a very good time. So hopefully we get Heather through there, and congrats. Really proud of her. She's just a great person. Check her out on Instagram as well. And now, like I said, then we're going to get to, and before we bring Arielle on, I want to say congrats to all the other Canadians that were down and Slow. Of course, Lindsay Webster. I don't know if you've heard of her. But
I think I've heard her name mentioned a few times. She's podiumed a little bit, I think.
A little bit. Yeah. You know what, though? I'm sorry. You retired. What are you doing? You have failed at retirement. The first race out, she already failed at retirement. Honestly, can you, like, if Bethany, so you're, let's just say you were ready to race the National Series. And you're like, I'm going to do well this year. Lindsay's gone. Nicole is injured. This is our chance. We can podium. And Lindsay says, I want to retire. And then she shows up at the first racer. You're like, you bitch.
I know. Well, then she was saying, I'm going to do one more. This is going to be her last one. So now I keep thinking, okay, well, is this just going to be, okay, are we going to do the next one? Because it's probably also, Ryan's going anyways. Yeah. If she's going to cheer him on, she could just sign up and jump in the race.
I think she's going to be like a Jeopardy champion. She's just going to keep going until someone beats her.
Yeah.
That would actually be, I could watch her race for another 30 years. I don't care. Like she can retire and unretire.
Yeah.
Many times if she wants. It's really impressive. So yeah, Lindsay did well. Emma Cook Clark took second place.
Mhm.
A little video online there of Emma getting called for a fail on Olympus. Did you happen to see
Yeah.
that one?
I didn't see, but I heard her knee skimmed the ground on Olympus, but I didn't see a video of it.
So yeah, so that's what she said that her knee skinned the ground. But there was a video out that showed her right at the end ringing the bell, and then feet hitting the ground like almost instantly. And so people thought that's why she was called out and thought there was a mistake made. But Emma said no, earlier on Olympus her knee skinned the ground, and that's what they called her for. So
So
yeah,
this is interesting because it's like when some of the really tall athletes, when their feet kind of skim, when they're on rigs and their feet kind of skim over like the straw,
yeah,
and they let that go too. But there's always been a bit of controversy about it too. I think it happened to John Elvin at in a significant point in a race, and people were upset about it. And I just think if it doesn't gain you any advantage, then it shouldn't be called. If you just brush the ground, then it's not really cheating and you didn't really touch the ground.
yeah, and I understand that point and completely disagree. I'm totally like the Ninja Warrior mentality of that's the line. It's the hard deck. If you touched it, you touched it. Just for the sake of, I agree with you. Like, there's no advantage gain. There's nothing like that. You're totally right. But it becomes so hard, especially for volunteers who aren't, the greatest at asserting themselves, to judge intent and how much gain was gained or not gained and all that stuff. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've been called out of stuff like that before. I was doing a ninja competition. There were like rings almost like Valkyrie that were going up. And when I grabbed I got the first one. Okay. The second one, when I went to swing, my foot kicked a pad, and I actually kicked the side of the pad, and it actually slowed me down and made it harder.
Uh-huh.
But because I hit the pad, I was still out.
Yeah.
And I'm
But
like,
at least in that race, you could do it again.
no, this was an ninja competition. So I was out.
Oh, a ninja competition.
Yeah. So
Oh,
it was
okay.
done 100%. So
Oh, okay.
I think I just like that clear cut, you know. But anyway, my point though was volunteer did a good job, and good on them for catching it, and good on Emma for owning up to it. And,
Yeah.
so she came second. Arielle, who we'll be talking to, came sixth, and Amanda Nadeau came 10th. So a really good showing for Amanda.
Yeah.
And then the guys, still the men's field was super stacked.
Oh, so I saw that also. So the top 10 were within 2 minutes of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Ryan Atkins came seventh.
Mhm.
Completely screwed up my predictions.
I don't think most people would have put him at 7.
No, I think he screwed up a lot. I think that's the worst he's ever done in a national series race.
Well, that's what he said on Instagram. Yeah. Mhm.
And Jesse Bruce with a 13th,
Yeah.
which I think for Jesse going in there, if you had told him when he saw that field he was going to come 13th, I think he would have been okay with it.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think in that field that there's anything wrong with 13th at all.
No, it was a great field. And thanks to Cole DeRosa, who apparently does Spartan's live streaming, because Spartan doesn't do it.
Oh.
Cole has a couple times now. He did it at Worlds and he did here. He has gone live on live on Instagram, so that we can get something as it happens. And he does a little job. I'm sure we'll see a video from Spartan within the next day or so. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's that. I mean, it's been a couple of days now, so
Yeah.
that's all I wanted to hit before we go. And I guess now it's just off and we chat with Arielle Fitzgerald.
Everyone.
Good. You're not dying on us, are you?
No, I have maybe like bronchitis / pneumonia. So we're
all right. So it's a good spot to start. Let's start with the race excuses. All right, Arielle. So
I know I got a long list of excuses.
let's go with them. Let's see what we got. There it is, right there, the cough. Oh.
I'm so injured from coughing. Like I have such a bad pain in my side. I have to like hold my side when I cough. So it's been an adventure. Yeah.
Now you haven't had children. You haven't had children yet, right?
No.
Like Bethany, isn't it like mom thing when you cough really hard, you have to pee now? Like, isn't that what the
Yeah, you have to hold your pee at the same time.
Gotta do those Kegels.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
So Arielle, you are just back.
I am.
Thank you for coming on. Obviously, so tell us, yeah, truthfully, because I mean, you and I talked like before you went down there, and
Yeah.
you've not been feeling very well. So what's
No,
going
I
on?
wasn't feeling like very well on Monday. I had like, and I had just gone back from Mexico. So I was like, maybe I have COVID. Like, I was, tired. I had a bit of a sore throat. And then Tuesday, I kind of had a sore throat and a cough. And I was just taking all these COVID tests and like everything's negative. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I should get a PCR test. So I was like, but then if a PCR test comes back positive, then I can't go at all. So like, maybe I don't want to rule that one out. So maybe it was COVID, but I don't think it was COVID. So then Wednesday, I just kind of had a cough, but my energy came back. So I was like, I'm fine. Like, I had not energy to go to the gym, but I wasn't like dead sick. So I was like, the race is on Sunday. I've reached the peak of my illness. I'll get better from here. And did not happen. I think like jumping on a plane when I was already kind of fighting something just like progressed it to become this like move to my lungs. Next thing I know, I'm like coughing up like really gross mucus all the time. And it's like cough and cough and cough. And I just like, yeah, it progressed. So now we're looking like we have some viral infection of some sort. I mean, and on top of that, I have asthma. So like, it's like this like double-edged sword of like, you have asthma and it like, I remember we did like a few shakeout runs and I was like, it like hurts to breathe right now. Like it like really like felt constricted in my chest and just like, I can't really jog right now. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to run. Like, and then Emma's just like, well, maybe it'll be like, no matter what effort you run, it hurts. So then you just run. And like, no matter if it's easy or fast, it just hurts. And so I was like, well, maybe, but I don't really know. And Sunday, I woke up, Saturday night, I went to bed and I was like up coughing. And like, I woke up like soaked in sweat. And I was just like, I'm so sick right now. This is like not fun whatsoever. But it definitely like made things have no pressure. I actually was like, if I feel crappy, I'll just drop out or I'll just go through the obstacles. Like, I'm here now. What am I going to do? And then now I'm back and I'm sick. So
I like Emma's theory there. Like you're just gonna hurt all the time, so you might as well run fast.
I know. Emma's such a champ. Like she's just got this like wild, she like makes these like making this like pot concoction for me. So I'd like steam my head over this like it looked like Shrek's poison. Like it just had like this motion and potions. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that pot really helped me last night. And they're like, the pot, the pot on the stove, not the pot, like the pot on the stove. And I was literally like rubbing like I didn't have any Vicks or like anything with eucalyptus. So other than like Annie had this like muscle relaxant rub. So I was like rubbing muscle relaxant on my chest, like just trying to like, and we're rooming together. So poor Annie and Emma were like having to stay in the room and they just like walk in and be like, oh, this place smells like Vicks. Like it was just like a hot box sick shop. So I hope I don't get anyone else sick. So yeah. It helped that I was staying with a nurse, I felt like my event should have been sponsored by Tylenol Cold and Pure and Kleenex. But
that'd actually be a great ad, if they saw you hacking and coughing and then running that race. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and those Breathe Easy strips, I've never used them before, but they work. Like I was quite impressed. Like I think I'll always race in one now. I was like, could breathe so much better. So that was the journey of the sickness. But
that would be a terrific sponsorship for you. I think you got to get that one out there.
Right? Get that rolling, right? Get some everyone gets sick when they travel. The only other time I was this sick was at World 100K and it was my first time there and I was so sick. Like I was like same deal. Like I had to change beds in the middle of the night because I like broke out in a sweat and you're like in this foreign country and you're just like, I had overdosed on vitamin C because I was just like taking vitamin C to like gut tolerance. So I was like a mess. And then I ended up having to drop out after 60K because like the airway in my lungs got blocked with mucus. But yeah, they like hooked me up to this like saline solution that just like washed out everything. And I was like, I'm ready to run again. This is great. And they're like, you're not going back on course. I'm like, come on, this is great. But yeah.
They not do like a nanny pot in like your pit stop, you know, where they just drain like there.
Yeah,
so it actually pumps it in on the TV. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was just like, but then I find sometimes you're so congested that your head just feels like it's filled with water. So then you're like all day and the neti pot just like keeps pouring. I had that happen and I was like, I don't think you're doing it right. You gotta like that. She told me this whole ritual to do. She's like the mom, the team mom for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you still ended up with two impressive things. 6th place, which considering that field and your condition, really impressive, and a clean race.
Yeah, that was exciting. The obstacles for the first time in my life, I was like, yes, I cannot don't have to breathe. Like I can do this. Like I can take a break and like get through this. And Chris's family was like out and Chris was on course doing some media stuff. And anyways, every time I'd see him, I guess I'd like cough because I just like had this like really nasty hack because it was kind of like you slow down so you can go through the obstacles. And he'd literally just stand there and laugh at me. Like he just like point and laugh at me. And I was just like, is this a joke right now? Like I'm dying, but it was pretty entertaining just like doing that. So I mean, I think part of the reason I got sick, so I am as sick as I am now, is like I was training pretty hard for this race. So like a 6th place finish is like great. But I'd say like I was probably one of the only people training their flat leg speed for this race as much. Cause I didn't go to Abu Dhabi, right? So like, I didn't really take a break, kind of just like build on that, work on some 10K threshold stuff. Like it's winter here, lots of like flat treadmill running. So I was really excited to run. I mean, I don't know if I would have finished much higher than what I finished, healthy or not, but I was excited to just race. So that was a little disappointing.
Well, so did you have to take off a little bit? Like you said, you did end up with the clean obstacles. And did you maybe take a little off your running and maybe that helped your obstacles a little bit?
I was running at probably a marathon effort, half marathon effort. Like I remember like, so I came through the first obstacle gauntlet and I was just like, I was able to achieve full stride. And then I was just like, I can't push anymore. I can't breathe. I'm just kind of like not wanting to cough right now. And then you just kind of feel crummy, right? Like everything feels off. So I think that did help, just like being like, okay, all I can do is do the obstacles. And like coming off Blue Mountain, like I felt like my obstacles were pretty strong. And then when I came into like the box and everything was dry, right? So when everything's dry and then they're like not dealing with like super hard obstacles, and most of the things I'm fairly familiar with now, it was like what made the course challenging was the effort in which you were able to run, right? So like they talk a lot about like if there's no mountains, the course isn't hard. Well, that's not true, because like anyone who's ever run a hard 10K knows that hurts a hell of a lot more than, I would argue, a half marathon up a mountain. Like I would say in terms of like your stomach hurts, your chest hurts, so your legs are filled with lactic, like it hurts. So that thing made the course a lot easier. It was not being able to like reach any form of threshold. And like, so we came into the first obstacle gauntlet and like Rose failed her spear and Chris failed her spear. So I was like, oh man, like, and then who's the other really fast girl who took it out hard? The fastest runner in the field.
Oh, Renee Mativier?
Renee was still on Olympus. So she had like a really hard time on Olympus. I heard like she went backwards and forwards and she was like on Olympus. So I was like, all right, I can pass Renee here. Like I'll go through Olympus. So going through Olympus and then got to Spear and then Rose and I could still see Ida and Alex. Like everyone was still kind of in sight because it's a flat course. Yep. And then when I saw that Chris and Rose failed their spear, I was like, oh, sweet, I could like pass them. But it was frustrating because like I couldn't run any faster. So it's just like oh, great. Like I can keep running. But I knew Chris was like gaining on me. And so like down like one of the hills, I was like, let's just like run a little faster here. And I like started like hyperventilating and like kind of could feel my airways like constricting a little bit. I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. So just kind of found this like plateau, like, you know, this like effort. You're just in this zone and moving through it. But it wasn't actually, I was the cargo net that screwed me up or lost fifth. It was, I picked the wrong sled. And I got this like sled that got stuck in a rut and then on this plate drag. And then I had this like massive pile of grass and I like couldn't like pull it through the grass. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll like switch sleds. I was like, I don't think I can do that. So it's just like, I lost probably 30 seconds there, 10, 15 seconds there. So that, and Chris is such a strong athlete, like strength wise, that when you go into the final obstacle gauntlet where it's like a plate drag and a herc hoist and a sandbag carry, then like she's gonna make time there. So that's what happened at the end. And she ran like really well. Like she did 30 burpees and I did not. So it's pretty stellar performance from her as well.
That plate drag is probably now being one of the few strength obstacles Spartan has left. It can make a real difference, especially in the women's race. Like if they start loading up that plate, it really can change. But it does.
Well, she didn't like pick the right, because how the terrain was, a lot of people got caught up there. So if you went on like one of the first two, there's this like massive rut. But if you moved a little further along where Chris went, it was like the smooth, like nice little kind of pull. So it just made a difference.
I heard that was the difference with Ida and Alex also, was Ida picked a bad lane.
What happened there, so Ida went, and this also kind of happened to Chris too, but somebody caught her early, is Ida cut the course and went directly to plate drag, because the way they had it set up, it was like, so you're kind of coming like this way, right? And like the sleds are like lined up here, but there's a trail that runs like parallel to it. And then you had to loop around like this and come in and start it here. But Ida just went diagonal through like this to the start, not realizing she had to run around. So I guess Alex yelled at her and told her she was doing it wrong. So she had to go back and then just got all confused because it wasn't marked. And then that's kind of where it happened. And then I guess like talking to Ida a bit after the race, she felt like her body was just quite tired from all her racing she had done and traveling, right? Like it's so draining. Yeah, right. That was definitely a place where people got caught for sure there. Yeah.
She came over and made quite an impact. I mean, she did really well at Savage and she did well in Jacksonville. And then even here, you consider, like she said, she had that miscue and maybe wasn't 100%. She still did really well. Like,
yeah, I know. We were just joking. We're like, even like with Nicole, like before the race, and we're talking about like predictions and stuff like that. We're just like, yeah, the two skiers of Canada will come out and crush everyone. Like, Emma's just been like going uphill all season long. I mean, Lindsay, I think, has done a bit more flat running. Like she was working a bit more on getting that leg speed back, and it definitely showed, right? Like we've seen all like variations of Lindsay's off season, and she definitely, I think, was a bit more in flat running shape this time around. So that was cool to see.
Well, you got to be prepared when you're planning to retire.
Yeah, I know. It makes total sense. She's not. She's totally gonna do the whole series. Like I am like 100% confidence we will see her at enough races to do the series for sure.
Yeah.
I told Bethany I think she's taking the Jeopardy champion route, where she's just going to keep going until she loses, and then maybe she'll stop.
Yeah, pretty much. That's actually a good plan.
It's not bad, but a little cough break.
So healthy. Pack a day over here.
So the other thing that I mean, you know, we'll talk about some of the other stuff that went on. I was impressed. Like, did you get a chance to see any of the men's field or talk to any of the men there? Because that was crazy.
But Annie was just like that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like I've never seen men come across the finish line like so like done, like in it. Like, you know, like completely, like it was like a cross country style race. Like these guys were running fast, and you know, it was a fast course and dry course. So like, you know, someone who's fast and can run is going to be able to move well through some of these obstacles.
It'd be interesting to see if any of your like top 15 guys failed any obstacles at all.
I would be curious to see that. Because like the spear, like nothing.
Spear is
yeah. I'm assuming the first 3 guys like did not fail a thing. Did you guys see the one? I don't remember Rob. I don't remember his name, but he like jumped from where I like biffed it hard on the cargo net. He like jumped and like dismounted, and it was like amazing to watch.
Wasn't it Nick who did it?
Yes, Nick.
He beat Hawk by 1 second, and he said it was just because he went for it and jumped, and he said it really hurt.
And so Annie was, I guess, talking to him, and I guess that he said that he had been visualizing this moment, like just dismount from the cargo net. So he like visualized it in his head about this is what was going to happen, and just went for it.
And that
quite frankly, I didn't even remember falling. Like I had no idea at that point. Like I just thought I was kind of like rolling, and then like when I rolled, it like got caught. I don't know what was happening. I was just wanting to be done.
I actually caught that part on the live thing that Colderosa did, and when you fell there, I was like, oh.
If you listen to the Nicole in the video, it's like not worth it, not worth it, not worth it, not worth it. So it's funny. Yes. But yeah, I think it's cool to see like, and we were also talking about like how it's interesting in like the guys field, how like where the race is really depends on first, second, and third, right? Like once you move to the mountains, the longer the races is like totally 2 different people. And we don't quite see that in the mountains. Like, you know, if Faye and Nicole were still racing, I think you would see it a bit more, or even like you see it a bit with Rhea. Like Rhea might not make a podium on a flat course, but she would definitely be a true contender for a mountain course. But it's cool to see what's happening with the boys field for sure. Yeah.
A lot of like when we first heard the announcements of what the race schedule would be, we all kind of thought every race was going to be the same. It was all going to be the mountain thing. And so I was quite surprised to see this race set up like kind of happy and excited too, because I like those fast courses. I was
excited. I was so stoked for this course. Like I was like, yes, we can actually run. Like even Ida, like herself, is like, you know, she wants to OCR Worlds is like really her what she wants to focus on. But like in order to do that, she needs mountains. Like she prefers a flatter, more runnable course. And I do think we're seeing a bit of a bias. I don't know if it's a bias, whatever it is, these seasons just keep running out where like mountains are like, it's not like you're a runner and you do obstacle course racing. You're like a mountain runner and you do obstacle course racing. Like it's not really where you get like, unless you're doing like a West Virginia and, you know, because I was like, I almost want to do savage races because they're runnable. Like I can actually run. Like I don't have to hike and
Well, and I find it so difficult too, because I don't live close to mountains at all.
Yeah.
So you're kind of really favoring people that have accessibility to mountains.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I just have to do the best I can and hope I do well on mountains, but I can't train for that at all.
No, you need a 30% incline treadmill.
Right. Which I don't have either.
Which is really hard to train on.
You don't even live close to a hill.
I have no hills. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So like a course like this course would be quite good for you, right? Like I was just like, this is like a Bethany, Faye, Nicole, Natalie Moreno, like this was their course, like super flat and runnable and fast. So,
and none of them were there.
None of them were there. So, and I felt like the pace was like people went out, but it wasn't like, you know, when you go on a road race and you're like, this is a hard pace, like, you know, you feel. And I also like couldn't run with the front pack. So maybe they felt that a little bit, but like where I was kind of like seated, it was like, this is like a, if it was a half marathon or a beast, like that's kind of, you never really felt like people were pushing the pace. So that was, and I think Emma said that they felt like it was a bit held back as well. Like they were running hard, but it wasn't like Asheville where she took it out with flying colors. It's definitely a bit slower of a pace.
So we had, I mean, might as well be a good time to talk about it. We had Ryan posted his post online about, not being able to see the best athletes showcase themselves and their skills and whatnot with the course. Obviously not his preferred course, and understandable, but he was as much talking again about obstacles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It seems to actually, and then there was a lot of talk back and forth, both sides of the camp. I personally think some people may have misunderstood what he was getting at, but he did try to clarify. Right. Where do you stand on this? Is it time that they revamp the course and maybe up the challenge a little bit? Or like, I don't mind the fact, I think that everything here has its place. I'm fine with the Spartan obstacles because I've come to expect it. And
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And everything, there's a race for every situation. But I also get what Ryan's saying, where it's really become just who can run and, not make a complete screw up.
Yeah. Like, I would say, I think before, like every year there'd be something new in the race, right? So there'd always be like a level of mix up, but like there's no heavy carries anymore. The obstacles, like it could even be something as simple as like adding an extra length to Twister, or like putting monkey in the middle in all the regular races. Like I would say like the obstacles aren't super challenging, but people still fail them. And you add in like if they're wet, they're not like as easy. Like Olympus, for example, is like a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if changing them every single race would be good, because it's nice to like, what I like about Spartan is like, what you're getting yourself into. So where things are. And then like we were actually talking about like, it would be nice if you could like, if you had the repeat model, like where you could, because as a result of them being the same, and like there being a penalty burpees, right? And I think this conversation has happened so many times, but you're less willing to take risk. So as a result, you're playing it safe every single time. And when you're playing it safe on obstacles, it's quite easy to get through them. Like this is just on the women's side. Like Annie was saying how she used to, like when she raced age grouper, she would like go through monkey bars like a mad woman because she didn't care if she fell off. But she's like, I would never, ever take those risks anymore. And as a result of this structure, I am less willing to take risks. So I never like improve my obstacle proficiency in a sense. Cause like, maybe this time I would swing past 2 rings, or I would like, and then maybe in a race you try it and you slip off. But it's like, if you would have just done one thing differently, you wouldn't have fallen off. And if you could have practiced that. So I think that would be cool to see, as like the ability to try new things on the obstacles and not have to play it safe. But I do see this, like a Savage race picks up and maybe goes more into the West. You might see people who really want to do obstacles leaving Spartan, and it just being a different audience. Yeah. I
think you're nail on the head with the Spartan should go to the multiple attempt. I say multiple attempt with a burpee buyout if you want. Yeah. So if there's something you absolutely cannot do, you can buy out with your burpees. But you'll see videos of people doing cool stuff on Spartan obstacles, big jumps, big laches, big lunges. But that's always in the open wave or afterwards for practice or before, not during the race.
Yeah.
And or very rarely. Yeah. And that just speaks to what you say. Like, it's the risk is not worth the reward.
Because that's like, even Nicole and I were talking about, is like, some people like swing and skip through Twister going forward.
Yeah.
And like Nicole is definitely the strongest obstacler in the female side of the sport, like in the elite, top 10 people. And she's like, I would not do that like in a race unless it was like everything lined up. She's like, because if you think about how much risk you're taking for it to save a little bit of time, it's not worth it if you fall, right? Like your wrist has to line up, your elbow and all of this. But like, if you were able to practice it, you would probably be like, oh, this time around, I'm just going to try it. And if it works out, then I'm through it. If not, I go back and go my old way. But yeah, I think.
Well, let's just say argumentatively, if you do that and do go through the fast way, you maybe gain 5 seconds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're risking 120 seconds to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
exactly.
Just poor gambling value.
Well, and then we're also talking if they're always having burpee penalties and not having some of the run loops.
Yeah. Because Emma said the run loop on Olympus was fair. She's like, that was probably the same amount of time it would have taken me to do burpees. So.
Right. So that's reasonable. But the only problem is that's not the same all the time.
No, it's not consistent, right?
Like sometimes it's like a 3-minute penalty loop, and other times it's faster than doing the obstacle.
Yeah, I know. Like Red Deer.
Yeah.
Or Blue Mountain.
Yeah. Which one was slow on Blue Mountain? That was the
So the rope climb, because Vlad volunteered at the rope climb, and he's like, you know what? I knew how short that penalty loop was. I was just gonna. He also didn't know like how to do the footwork on the rope, so he's like, I was just gonna run through that little rope climb because there was no way I was. So that one was like, he's like, it was so short, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. So also, and another thing that points out again to the difference is when Lindsay had her post, she posted that she trains obstacles 20 minutes a week now. That's it. That's all she gives, because she's like, you just don't need to anymore.
Right.
So
that comes a lot from experience though too.
Yeah.
Somebody said, and I don't know who it was, but they suggested that Spartan do like almost like a gymnastic thing where you have your mandatory obstacles that are there every time.
Yeah.
And the selection of different ones that you can throw in to change things up every now and again.
Yeah.
I think that would be a nice way to go.
I do think there would be nice to have a bit of like, I finally got through all the obstacles, and like I'm like, oh, I feel like obstacles are not knock on wood going to be like my catch up this year. Like I think it's like all these other things, like, you know, like training my uphill climbing, like it's all these like run focused things and not really like strength focused. And even with like the heavy carries, like back, Amanda and I were talking about this, is like Michelle, back when like Michelle trains her now, and like Michelle has like given me some pretty nasty carry workouts. And it's like, if you skipped your carry workouts all the time and you went into Tahoe, you would be crushed by those sandbags. But now it's almost like you'll get through it. Like, you know, so it's almost like add a heavy carry and then the obstacles become a bit harder because your grip's like completely taxed or something.
And like the carries were like, it was like less than a minute, wasn't it?
Oh, the carries are fast. Yeah. I know. And they were light, and you can run with them all. And now that you don't have to carry it like this anymore, you can carry it like a sandbag. It's not really a bucket carry anymore.
Right.
Maybe they should put in like a farmer carry early on, a big, heavy farmer carry, just smash everybody's grip. And then your obstacles can be difficult by being easy, because it doesn't matter, because nobody's got any grip left.
Like, I do think there's a market for what Spartan has, right? Like, there's definitely like, you know, like mountain runner, like you could be a good mountain runner and like to rock climb and pop over to some Spartan races and do just all right, right? But you're not doing well at OCRWC, or you're not really obstacle course racing at that point.
Well, and I also don't think it's fair that they were saying the may the best cross country runner win, because when you look at Renee Medivier, she just won the US Masters cross country championships, and she wasn't even in the top 10. She did 120 burpees. So if that was true, Renee Medivier would have wiped the floor with all the women.
So we were talking about this because we're like, we see where it's coming from for men, because like for men, we think it comes a lot from like, it goes back to physical literacy at a young age. At what age does the average boy start doing pull-ups or start just working out in the gym a bit more relative to the average female, right? Like I said, if you put like, say, like Vlad and Joanna, my two mountain friends, who are both very active people, Joanna would still fail obstacles, but Vlad wouldn't. And Joanna spends more time in the gym, but Vlad doesn't. So there's like this, maybe like a different physical literacy amongst guys, so they have an easier time just like getting through the obstacles because they naturally have more upper body strength. But in the women's side, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see your collegiate cross country runner come out and win an obstacle course race, but you might see that on the men's side if they watched enough YouTube videos and did their pull-ups. So that's where I would argue that, like, I get where it's coming from the guy's side. But I also, like, it goes back to one of the posts that they did, like, you know, where people talk about hills and altitude and just going into the race and being prepared. And like, people train hills when they're going to a mountain race. This is like off topic of obstacles, like, but people will go out, seek hills, seek mountain climbing, seek altitude. But when it's a flat race that's runnable, it gets trashed for being too easy. Like, go out and run hard, go out and run fast. It's still hard. It's just different.
Yeah, I don't really understand the whole it being too easy, right? Like, so, I mean, I used to race the 5K on the track, and never in my life would I have called that easy. It's as flat and fast as it gets, but
hard. Yeah.
Right. It's extremely hard. It's so I think it's just, they like the gnarliness of like the unique terrain that's always changing, and the mud and like the up and down and like bombing down the sides of mountains, like the changing terrain, I think is what they want. And maybe it's more speaking to like the boredom factor of like not enough changes in the running, but like to say it's not hard enough, just that makes no sense at all.
No,
Run fast.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And like, to that point, if you're running at 5K threshold pace on those runnable sections and you run into Twister with your heart rate that high, Twister's no longer easy. Because you're maxed. So that's how you make the obstacles harder, as you run harder.
Right.
Maybe.
That plays to something that I have said a long time. The only person that can complain the race was too easy is the person who wins.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you can run harder, right? Like, I came off of monkey bars once, and like all of a sudden I got this like I want to vomit feeling in my stomach. And I think it was just because I ran hard into the obstacle, and like I jumped on the monkey bars and I like jumped down. All of a sudden it was like this lactic overload, and you just got to run through it. But like, you know, that is still hard, right? The monkey bars may not have been hard, but now trying to run really hard off those monkey bars, now that's pretty hard. So, but on the same hand, like, I guess it's why you came into this sport. Like, I came into this sport as a road runner, like Bethany, right? So like, there's lots of different components that were interesting to it. So I take comfort when things are a bit similar, a bit, you know, I can kind of like train aspects of it. Like, that excites me and has kept me in the sport, a bit more of the standardization of like knowing I could get better at it. Versus just be like, oh yeah, I want to go back and chase arbitrary numbers on the road. Cause like, that's still like something I enjoy doing and I find interesting because it's hard in its own way. But then and as a result, I had to train other aspects of it, like technical running, technical downhills, uphill climbing, where I think people haven't maybe had to train fast running, or because of the types of terrain it's been in. You train mileage, you train strength, you train other aspects, and not necessarily fast running.
I would like to see more courses like this one.
I would too. Like, I'm quite, like I said, I was saying to a friend, like, well, I guess I better start power hiking. Like, there's really no reason for me to keep running anymore. Like, there's, in a sense, like, it's going to be, my running is at a level in which it will be fine. My power hiking is not, but you know, it's like, I'm kind of at this tough position where like, I'm enjoying running and I like running, and power hiking I enjoy that too, but it doesn't like excite me like running.
Well, and I think when you look at the men's race, I think this course also created such an exciting spectator friendly event. Yeah. And that's what you get in these super flat courses, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, but again, Spartan would have to start doing a better job with the media coverage for that to even be valid.
Yes. Yeah. And media is definitely changing this year. There's a lot more like restrictions and rules and things like that. I mean, I do think too, like, it would have been nice to see, like, I've heard that Mexico might not be as hilly as we thought it was going to be, and it might be a bit more of a flatter runnable course, but it would have been nice if we still, like, we didn't move directly into this, like, all mountain races, really, and beast mountain races.
And Mexico has changed venues as well, so
Yeah.
we don't have as much information on that other venue. At least I don't.
So that's what we were discussing after the race. Is it looks like it might be a flatter course. Close to the mountains, they might be able to get some hills in, but it might be a flatter course, maybe. So
I would like to see it. I'd like this.
I would too. I would too, Dave.
I can watch me run slow. I want to watch you guys run fast.
It is really cool to watch. Like, it is super, super cool to watch. And I don't know what it is about going uphill, but like, you really see these bigger gaps between like climbers, you know, like you could probably get like Lindsay, Emma, and Annie all working together on climbs. But then as soon as you get to a technical downhill section, it's just going to be these gaps created, right? Whereas in like flatter terrain, you're not going to see these like gaps as large of gaps, right? Like you're going to see more change up, more working together, more of that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
In OCR, maybe not in like professional trail running or mountain running, because like that's what they all train.
Mm-hmm. Just goes back to Spartan Cross. That would be better. We just need to watch Spartan Cross.
Yeah. Right. I don't know what the solution is. I think it just depends on the athlete. It's just I think there's enough obstacle out there that you can just shop around and create your season around like what excites you. Like that's the other piece to it, is like you don't have to do these series. You can like decide which championship races you want to do and work backwards from there, and then build what excites you from that.
And you're right. Championships are really cool. The series are really cool, but at the same time, the money's not that great. And it's okay. In all seriousness, for 4 people, really, the money is okay.
Yeah.
And everybody else is going to lose.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's not about the money. It's about finding the races that excite you, that appeal to you, that you're going to have fun at.
Yeah. Right. And then like, I think at the end of the day, when you look back as to why you got into athletics, everyone gets into athletics for their own reason. But like for myself, and I know some of my friends, it's like, there's something about just like picking a goal and working towards that goal and being like super excited. And like, those are the races that really are the ones that make you happy when you're like in there, your mind and your body's working, you're working hard. Right. And those are the races, like that's what you work towards. And it's not all these like little series races. And so I think as long as your season has focus and it excites you, then like stop bashing everything else. Like if you're out there like ripping apart these races, then like reevaluate your race season and figure out what excites you, because you don't have to do any of this.
Right. And so, and this reminds me again of your post, which I really liked. And you mentioned performance and process goals.
Yeah.
And I think, and then you have outcome goals. So we kind of have these 3 things. This is going back to like sports psych and university. So you have like your process goals are the things that you're going to do throughout the season. And then you have your performance goals. Like I want to be able to, like maybe your goal, one of your performance goals, I want to be able to run a race without failing any obstacles or come top 5 at it. That would be an outcome goal, would be like an actual result. So then I think when you're looking at like what we do, if you focus on your process goals, like the training and the journey, then just go into your races and like enjoy it's like the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Like if you're enjoying the process, then at the end of the day, go out and race and have a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. If what you're doing every day doesn't excite you, then you're doing the wrong thing. For sure. And it's really hard not to get caught up in all these series. And then we think our body's invincible, but it's not. Like, I'm learning from mistake. I also haven't been sick in 3 years. So like, I sound really bad, but like I survived a lot of crap the last 3 years, or maybe I just didn't leave my house. But I agree. And I think with OCR specifically, like you need process goals because it's harder to get those outcome goals because there's so many more variables at stake. Like, I want to get top 5 at a Big Bear. Well, the reality of that happening is really going to depend on who shows up, to be honest, right? Like we know there's stronger climbers, you never know who's going to be out there. But like, you know, in a road race, it's like, oh, I want to go sub 18 in a 5K. Well, it doesn't matter who toes the start line that day. You're running that regardless. So I think that's like, for me, process goals have been like the key to like keeping me happy in the sport. Almost to the detriment where I don't even have outcome or performance goals anymore, because I'm like, I don't know, like, you know, I just, it's almost to a bit of a detriment. But I guess it depends, like, you know, where, like on a runnable course is a bit easier, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's almost hard to judge if like that was a really good race for you. It's almost more of an intrinsic feeling that you have. Like you were kind of saying, like, was sixth place good for me? I don't really know. Could I have done better? I'm not really sure. Like, it's hard to judge at the outcomes of your performance sometimes, because the numbers themselves with our times and stuff doesn't always equate. There's no comparable. So
yeah, like a 5th place finish at Tahoe. Like, yeah, that was a great finish for me. Like, I was working hard. Like, I gave everything I got, like with Lauren Weeks towards the end. Like, to me, that was like a really strong race. Or like with Lindsay, like, you know, those were good races. Like, Utah was not a good race. Like, it was awful. And I would say, like, yes, this weekend was also, it was the best outcome I could have had under the circumstances. Like, I executed every single process goal I wanted to do, right? So 6th was the outcome, but maybe it would have been 3rd on another day. Other than running hard, like I didn't execute that, but you know, everything else is really there. So yeah.
It's interesting for me to listen to you two talk to each other, because it makes me realize how much you both dumb down the conversation when you talk to me, and I really appreciate that. That's sweet of you.
Would you like us to also, Bethany and I come from running backgrounds,
right?
Bethany more so than me. Like, Bethany like ran like very high level track, so that's like a whole other level.
It was like, this is what you talked about all the time.
Yeah, it's like splits. And even like I was excited for this race because I just started training with a watch like consistently again. So I like knew where my fitness was, and I was like, who do you think I can run with? Like, what do you think these people can run? Like, who should I go out with? Like, I was so excited because I was like, I feel like I have some sort of gauge of like where I'm at right now.
Well, and I actually checked like kilometer splits on this race, which would never really matter at all before. But I was like, wow, these kilometer splits are fast.
Like, those guys are moving.
Yeah. Like 3:30s with obstacles. Like
that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's super impressive. What were the women moving at?
I didn't see them. I looked at a bunch of the men's just because they're more on Strava.
Yeah.
So actually, no, sorry. I did see some of them. They were like 5 minutes with obstacles. I saw Rose's and Alex. Yeah.
See, that's not fast. Like, for that obstacle, like that is fast. Obviously it's faster than what I was running. But if I look at like what splits you can run on those courses, like if I know what Lindsay can run, and I know what I can run, I know what Emma can run. Yeah. And I know that those obstacles aren't challenging for us, then like I would say the pace of that race was not necessarily, like, there's no reason why the female field couldn't have been working at like a 3:45, 3:50, 4-minute kilometer for that whole race. Yeah. Really? Would you like, you know, based on everyone's,
was it that solid of a terrain too? Like, it was like
a bit, I guess, a bit mushy here and there, but there were sections where it was just like dirt road running.
Wow.
Gravel road running.
Yeah.
So like a few swampy sections, but nothing that was like technical or anything like that. So that is cool to see though. 3:30. Whew. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the rare races we seem to with a downhill start.
Yeah, that was hard running. It wasn't like, it was a downhill start, but that's where the terrain wasn't great. Yeah, I was trying not to cough up a lung, so like it was. I can't speak on that. If I was healthy, I would have known it because I would have gone out too hard. But you were through a few grassy, wet sections, because I remember being like, "Ooh, that terrain is giving out a bit more than I expected." But then you're on this dirt road, and it's like, it's road running. It's fast. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
Yeah, you would have loved it, Bethany. It's a lot like Red Deer.
Oh, like, okay.
It's like a ranch. It's like Red Deer, you know, less trail running than Red Deer. It was all open running. A few like ups and downs like this. There was a bit of a punchy climb at the end, like what you would get in cross country, right? Like if you ran, there's always those cross country races like Trinity, or I don't know what other ones were in Ontario, but there'd be like these big hills at the end, which would be a rolling hill in OCR, but it would just be like this gut wrencher if you just ran really hard for 8 minutes and now you had to go up this hill. Like, there's definitely some of those. Yeah, you would have liked the course for sure.
I like that you said it was like open and not so single track, because I think sometimes we get in so many of these races and they become single track and then you guys can't pass each other. It just you get that conga line going, and I want to see you guys have multiple lanes and be able to work your own pace and get around people.
And I think too, it would be cooler if we had like, if everything wasn't so, if you mountainous, say, or more runnable, and we had a bit more of like a little bit of everything, and you had like packs of people able to work with each other, because it wasn't single track, or it wasn't like you would be able to push each other a little more and like get the best out of your competition, which I think we're going to start to see. Like, we saw it a lot closer finishes. Had Emma not failed something, Lindsay and Emma probably would have been battling it out. But
I would have paid a couple of bucks to see that.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have actually run hard though. I don't know if they would have just like, hey, Emma was just, how you doing? So fast.
You just see them stopping near the end and sitting and having a chat, and
that was great. Like,
telling each other how nice they are.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
So I guess,
but you might see it at some of the mountain races. They're both doing. I'm going to be volunteering at one, so I'm excited to see the action go down.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, sky race. Come out to Alberta. Climb some mountains. Volunteer.
I will go anywhere people will fly me to.
All right. I'll see what I can do. I could drive you there if you flew to Calgary.
Gotta get to Calgary.
Drive you there. Yeah.
So with all this talk of different courses and horses for courses, essentially, what's the perfect course for you? What do you want to see? What would be the one, pick your course?
West Virginia or like New York, like more like technical running that is single track and has some hills. So not like Pancake Flat, has a technical component with a little bit of climbing, but not like steep punchy climbs, not long climbs. Yeah. Half marathon. Like West Virginia was like my perfect course because it was technical.
It was then a pretty good mix of some flat open spaces too. Like West Virginia was actually like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and it's fun. I found that course fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also found the tri-state one in New York. It's normally in like November, October time.
Oh, I thought that one was early, like March.
Okay,
April.
well, the year I did it, it was in November. And it was like, that was a fun course for me. It was mainly climbing, but it was technical. I like the technical running a lot more. Blue Mountain had that too. So steep climbs. So like Tahoe and Utah, where they're a bit more runnable uphill, I struggle on. But I think like Blue Mountain and Big Bear could be more my style, of course, because they're power hiking. So like I'm a good power hiker and I'm a good runner, but I'm not a good uphill runner.
That kind of mid-grade thing.
I'm not a douche grade runner. Like anything that's like uphill and like runnable, I'm just like, can I just walk? Come on, like be a little steeper.
That I can
walk
relate
a little bit.
I can totally relate to that.
Right?
Either let me run or make me hike. None of this in between.
Yeah. I don't like the in-between stuff. I don't really know anymore though. West Virginia for sure, but I've never run Big Bear, and like everyone's like, oh, you're gonna love Big Bear, you'll love it. And I'm like, no, I won't, because I've been running on a treadmill for the last 3 months because I wanted to run fast in San at the first race, San Luis. But we'll see.
So what's next?
I think I'll go to Big Bear. I think I'm gonna do I think what I've decided is that I'll Well, I thought about going to the Savage race, but I'm sick. So my goal is to get healthy again. Because the thought of getting on a plane right now is just disgusting. But I think I'll do Big Bear. And then I'm just going to assess whether or not doing the full series is worth it for myself. Yeah.
I have a race question. So OCRWC and the Ultra Champs are on the same weekend.
So I'm not doing ultras this year.
Will you do OCRWC?
I'll do OCRWC, I think. Yeah. So, but here's the thing is like, I want to run. This is like my problem. I just need to commit to hiking. Like, I think I just need to commit that I'm going to work on my uphill running this year because there's no escaping it. Like, I don't really want to go to Abu Dhabi. I thought about maybe going to Greece. So if I think about like a goal that's like convenient and challenging, it would be like OCRWC. So it's like a bit working on the obstacles and strength components still and working on, but I wish OCRWC was a runnable course because then like that would be my goal. Right. But it's not.
But maybe that's coming in the future, right? Because now this will be 2 years at Stratton. Generally, that's the rule. They do 2 years and then move it somewhere else. So it could be the next one could be a runnable course. I actually think that would be really exciting to see a super fast runnable course just slam obstacles.
Like Nicole said in London, it was like really like the 3K. If you watch like the London 3K, like that was fast and that was fun to watch. Because
if it had not been such a muddy swamp hole.
Yeah, that's true.
I would have been all about it. And maybe again, the venue is so important in these big races. And that venue, well, it's a good racing venue, is not a lot for other things like, restaurants and all that other stuff, that great stuff you get in the villages with Stratton and Blue and places like that. So, but I would love to see like a super fast, densely packed obstacle. That would be so exciting to watch.
It would be fun. I am like intrigued by like working on my obstacles. Like the reason I decided I don't want to do ultras is if I return to ultra running, I want to run a fast 50K. So I've like wanted to break 3:30 for the 50K for like a long time. So I would rather like, now that I've worked a bit on some of like my leg speed a little bit in shorter things, I would rather just do that than like go get totally smashed in a 24-hour race. Like that would be like sort of like the logical thing that I would do, just because I've thought about leaving OCR multiple times to go and do that. So I think it would be stupid to not go and do that and do some 50K trail races. But training for World's Toughest Mudder, I was miserable. I was like, oh my God, I have to go run again. Like, I don't want to go run again. Like, can I just go to the gym? Or like, can I go? I like couldn't climb as much because I had to run. And I was just like, my heart's not in it. So right now, I think I'm more excited to like be in the gym and like work on some obstacle stuff. Need to work on some obstacle stuff, some obstacle literacy a little bit. But yeah.
That'd be a great book, Obstacle Literacy. I like that.
Yeah, obstacle literacy. Because like it's strength, like, it's like, oh, you have more than enough strength. It's like, you never come out of a race. And I mean, I haven't only done Spartan, but I'm never like, oh, my grip is taxed. Like I literally came out of Spartan and I was like, why does my head hurt so bad? Like, why is my head so sore? And I'm going through customs and I'm like, did I bump my head on something? Like, why is my head hurt? And I'm like looking through pictures and I'm like, bucket carry, resting it on my head. I bruised my head like from banging on my head. I was like, that's the sorest part. And then my side from coughing. But you're never like, oh yeah, my grip is taxed in Spartan. But in Savage you would, right? And that goes back to that.
Yeah. It's again, horses for courses. But again, you are probably very tired and very ready from all your trips to call it a night.
Yes.
So, Bethany, do you got anything else?
No, that was great. Thanks so much, Arielle. And yeah, congrats on the weekend. You, despite what you might have felt, you ran a fantastic race. So looking forward to seeing you in Big Bear.
Where will you guys be? Big Bear?
No. You said you're going to Big Bear. No, not me.
What's next?
Well, Beth, what's next for you?
RX1.
Yeah, same with me. We'll be RX1. It's do you even know what RX1 is?
No.
It's like a hybrid race, so it's picture a bunch of workout stations mixed in with trail racing.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
You guys will crush that.
Very fun. I've done a couple of them, and it's a Quebec outfit, and they put together an amazing event.
That's awesome. Maybe Savage this summer, a road trip. Savage, I would do that.
Pennsylvania.
That's in August.
I think so.
When?
I have to look at my calendar. Look at this. You're making me work here.
Yeah. Pennsylvania's nice. You're not going to Ohio?
Ohio conflicts with something else, so it's a maybe.
Right. I remember that.
All right. I can't even find it on my calendar, so I'm not going to continue to look for it. I'll let you know. I'll message you and tell you what it is. But there was one other thing podcast related here. Our generous sponsor, Duonamic, is going to send you a set of rings to go with your basic Duonamic setup.
Oh,
so
they're awesome. Their stuff is awesome.
Yeah. And they're going to be continually sending every one of our guests product from their catalog.
That's what I need.
Some rings.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys. I look forward to seeing you more. And it'll be a good season.